Hi, my name is Mary Wong, and I'm a registered traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and acupuncturist in downtown Toronto, author of Pathways to Pregnancy, and founder of Alive Holistic Health Clinic. So tonight, I'm speaking to you about a very important topic because as women, what I say is that we tend to say yes a lot. And for self-preservation purposes, for the ability to have more self-love and happiness, one of the things that we can do is learn to say no powerfully. Now, I might preface that this might be a different conversation if you're the person that just says no all the time. That's a whole different conversation. So what I mean by that is, so some people say, no, I don't want to do this, and I'm not open to this, I'm not open to that, and just constantly saying no. So this is a different conversation. I am speaking to those of you that are actually having difficulty saying no, and I still am currently every day challenging myself to say no, because what's natural, and I think what we have been taught and socialized in life, is to say yes. You know, partly for me, it's like I don't want to miss out on anything, so I want to say yes to everything. So I'm an excitable person. Or we may feel committed and that it's difficult to say no because partly it's, if we look deep, the triggers for always saying yes is the thought that perhaps if we say no, it means that we don't care, and we don't want people to think that, or that we do not love, we don't want people to think that, or that maybe we're not good enough if we say no, right? Does that sound like you? Here's a conversation. So it goes like this. For example, if you're trying to conceive and you find it difficult to say no, but yet, you feel tortured by saying yes as well simultaneously, I think you might want to reconsider. So Brendon Burchard is I guess, what is he? Like the highest paid inspirational, motivational coach around. And one thing that I loved what he said was that with anybody asking you something, say no first and then go and reevaluate. So walk away, reevaluate. So you don't have stress about having to commit by saying the no first, and then you can go back. Like, so you have time to simmer it over, think. And with the simmering over is this. I think what we can look at are at least 4 things, right? You want to ask yourself, is this good for me? And through that, is this good for me? Or is it bad for me? You want to look at, well, how necessary is it? That's 1. How valuable is it? That's 2. And does it have me moving forward in the direction that I want to go in my life? That's 3. And 4, is it inspiring me? Does it energize me to say yes? Does it cause me great joy? Or is it the opposite? By saying yes, are you going to be depleted of energy? Or will it cause more stress? And if you say yes and it causes these things, then I say no. And an example for that is, we do feel committed and we do have friends and loved ones. And when I was going through a tough time with my fertility, I had to step back and take control of my life, because for those of you who have had issues or with fertility, there's just this great sense of lack of control. Because, in life, you work hard and you basically achieve what you want, and work-wise, right? You work harder, you get your next promotion, like that. But when it comes to fertility, you work harder, and all you do is you cause more stress. Causing more stress, as we know, can impede our hypothalamus connection with our pituitary to the connection with our ovaries. And so What we want is to lessen that kind of stress. So it's not about taking away the stressors in our lives, certain things that we cannot control, but how we respond to stress. So if, for example, this is what happened to me years back before I had my child, while I was going through my 5-year journey of trying to conceive and being pained, not on a daily basis by any means. I'll tell you, there were 2 times in that 5-year time frame where I felt truly sad when I heard someone was pregnant. So those 2 times were this. Boy, I'm like really telling a lot about myself. The first time was when I heard my ex-boyfriend was pregnant, as in his wife was pregnant. And I was very sad because it made me reevaluate the past of, gee, if I married this guy, maybe, well, I would have been a decade younger and maybe I wouldn't have had my tubal block issues. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I don't know. But, you know, life would have turned out differently. So I was just sad reflecting that. Don't worry, I'm over it. It's all good, no regrets. But in that moment of time, I felt a brief moment of sadness. Second time was when, okay, so again, let me paint the picture first. My husband and I were trying to conceive when I was 38. He was 40. He has a younger brother, and he was 8 years, well, he still is 8 years younger. And so at the time he was what, 32? And I don't remember, I'm just gonna say maybe by the time he was 43, him and his girlfriend at the time were trying to conceive, and they were able to get pregnant after about 7-8 months. And so, of course, while I was happy for them, I was also sad for myself. And having that story in my head, you know, really it shouldn't have been. It should have been us because he was the firstborn. My husband was the firstborn. He's the older one. And really, in the order of things, it should have been us first. So there was some piece of sadness in reflection. And so when it came time to her, the girlfriend or common law's baby shower, I was torn. I mean, I liked her dearly for sure. And again, I was happy for her, but I just knew that in my heart of hearts, it would have been a little painful for me to be in that environment where it's just baby talk all afternoon long and looking at all these baby clothing and baby items and seeing pregnant bellies and other kids. It was like it would have been rubbing it in my face that I am not pregnant and she is. So to me, it made much more sense to say no, because for self-preservation purposes. As well, I thought, you know, what good am I if I'm there inauthentically celebrating with her when I'm sad inside? And truthfully, when push came to shove, I thought, you know, I'm not going to just not show up. She's someone that's important to me. And this child, this future child, will be someone that is important in my life. And so what I did was I phoned her up and I said, listen, I realize that you have a very important day ahead of you. This baby shower is celebratory for you. And and you know that I'm going through this, turbulent times, this difficult journey of trying to conceive. And, you know, would it be okay if I tell you that I'll take you out on my own and we'll celebrate it that way? Because I don't know how I will be or how good I'll be for you when it's supposed to be a day that celebrates you. So what was really interesting and what I was grateful for was that she responded really warmly and openly. And in fact, she actually had a sigh of relief, because I think she would have felt bad that she was here celebrating, knowing that I was trying so hard to conceive and we haven't achieved it. So in the end, by saying no, yet in a responsible way, by communicating, we were able to really create a win-win situation. So what I say to you is this: when you're put in a place of, people asking you to do certain things. So, maybe not a baby shower, but maybe at work, if you're known to be that person that takes on that lots of projects and all of a sudden you say no, it's okay. You're not less of a person for it. And again, I think it's a matter of self-love, self-preservation, and really focusing on what's important to you. And then simultaneously with that, if you feel like you need to make a completion around it, not like an explanation for yourself, but in a way of communicating responsibly to just maybe one person, like your manager or somebody else that maybe would be more empathetic and has your back, and explain why the no to that extra project, then perhaps there'll be more empathy and understanding. And then you don't have to feel sheepish or like you're trying to get out of things or that you're not a good employee, because of course then you start thinking about that. Oh my gosh, now that my boss is going to think that I don't care about work and that I'm not good enough or I lack focus. So I say, be upfront where you can and with someone that you can guess that may be able to have your back. And so that someone sometimes is someone totally unexpected. And I think I've told you this story in one of my very early posts, so I'll repeat it now. I had a patient who was highly stressed in this position at work, and she had a new boss who everybody did not like so much, right? The mean boss who was basically, clocking everybody's time. And here she was, she had to go to a fertility clinic almost every morning. So how do you account for these missing times? But yet she didn't feel like she could tell him because she thought, gosh, this is a horrible boss. Everybody hates him and he's always tracking our time. And so in the end, what happened was she was one day in an elevator with him and they were having a chat, and he mentioned something about twins, and she had this suspicion that maybe perhaps that he had some kind of fertility journey themselves. And sure enough, he did. So she revealed that she was trying to conceive. And from that point onward, he said, instead of tracking your time, he says, take your time. So he fully understood the consequences of not showing to work on time because of going to the fertility clinic. And then from being that horrible boss, he became that person who totally got her back and didn't think that she was slacking off. And when you're in that place, I would say when you're in a happy, supportive environment, that's where you say, wow, work is actually a great escape. So when I'm going through bad times, I might just work a little more because I'll get my mind off. And so even Google says this, right? Google, one of their mottos is happy employee is a productive employee. So really, that's what we need to look at and reinvent ourselves and learn to say no responsibly. So again, just to recap, what I want to tell you is this: say no first and reevaluate and ask yourself, am I overcommitting? And ask yourself, is this serving me? Is it making me happy? Is it giving me joy? And, or if I say yes, is it going to tire me out? Am I going to be dragged out and bitter and resentful? That's not empowered choice, is it? So choose powerfully and wisely, responsibly, so that you choose those things in your life. And listen, sometimes you do want to say yes. And it may actually make you feel better. So sometimes it's like, gosh, I don't know, I'm really down in the dumps and I don't want to go out. But actually, when you go out and you're around good people, maybe they can lift your spirit. Or that movie, going out for dinner, or, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't realize I could feel better about myself. Or, I feel really horrible. I should go for a walk and get some air. I don't feel like it. Well, maybe in that case, you reevaluate and say, you know what? It might actually pick up my energy. I'm going to get oxygenated. So in those cases, yes, it is good for you to rebalance, right? So I'm going to add in one more thing. So back to the, is it necessary? Is it valuable? Does it have me moving forward? Is it inspiring, energizing, and de-stressing? Those are all valuable tips in terms of how to say yes and no. So the other piece that I mentioned that I didn't fully address is that, as I said, in our culture, we're basically socialized to say yes and socialized to keep going and keep on trucking. And I'll tell you, as women and in Chinese medicine, we see being a woman, we all have yin and yang, which is the female energy, nourishing energy, as well as yang energy, which is the active, creative energy, male energy. And much of our society is focused on action-based energy, male energy, and then certainly at work, right? And certainly in sports and activities. And one thing that keeps us this way, in my opinion, is very unfortunate, is the invention of a tampon. They're going to say, what? Well, because what is that we do? We plug ourselves up with that tampon and we carry on like nothing is changed. So it's like we want to pretend we're a man in a woman's body. And meanwhile, this is a time where we want to try to respect ourselves and say, I am a woman. This is time to nurture myself. This is not the time to go out there and run a 10-kilometer race. And have that self-respect and self-preservation. Because guess what? Also in Chinese medicine, we look at, Kevin, I like your and I'm telling you why. The reason why we don't want to just pretend we're male, because that's what we're doing, right? We're just ignoring the fact that we're menstruating. But yet, as we know in Chinese medicine, that one of the most energy consuming time is through menstruation. When we're menstruating, we're meant to relax. In the olden days, women would go off into the woods and feed each other and be kind to each other and sit and tell stories and just lay low. And that's nurturing and nourishing, right? Rather than overexpending. This is a time to build up, not break down. So it's okay to say no, especially when we're menstruating, to, hold back, be more introspective. It's a time of hibernation, if you will, to preserve the energy, to build up, right? Their own private village. Thank you, David Bray, because that's exactly what that is. And unfortunately, in modern day society, we don't do that anymore. Really. And so we want to really respect that, honor that, and embrace our womanhood again. One of my expressions is, we need to nourish the mother in us, right? Because that's what it is. We have to mother ourselves before we're able to create life and mother another life. And then another way to look at it is, if we're constantly saying yes and not having the ability to say no, we run ourselves ragged. We may be regretting and not contented. And so then it's to me, if life creates life and there's not much life left in us, how can we create life? So I say, find your ways of creating life. And one of the ways is actually doing this simple thing called saying no. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your contribution. And I shall see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that will be a surprise one, because right now I have not looking at my agenda. So I'm not sure what we're talking about, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So please join me next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And check out the posts below, because there's now 61 of them, which is so cool. And just so you know, at some point, we're going to transform them so that it'll actually live on YouTube. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Thank you, David Bray, both of who are awesome TCM practitioners. So thank you. Don't go, I'll go, but come back next week. Thank you. Have a great night. Mwah. Oh, and check out MaryWong.life. Buy my book, Pathways to Pregnancy, and I do explain some of this stuff on there, and be inspired. Take care. Have a great night. Bye.